Vinny Eastwood will be joining us here in just a minute, and I've got so much news. I'm going to have to work it in with Vinny. You guys, if you haven't heard Vinny Eastwood, you're going to love him. He's pretty funny. He's got a funny accent. He's kind of like me. We take all of this stuff very seriously. Trust me on that. I'm up at night sometimes thinking about it, especially the 24-hour spraying over my head here in Atlanta. We're not going to go there. That's too advanced for some of you new listeners. Uh-oh. There's the crazy we've been detecting the whole time. No, but Vinny is he takes it light. He's not using fear porn against you. He's not trying to scare you into giving him money or any of that. He tries to keep it light. I think everybody here at No Agenda Global Radio does the same thing. Although Scott Horton is about to lose his second hinge here any second, and I don't blame him. He knows a little bit more about all of this than some of us, and he thinks about it, and he really cares, and we all care about it. But, hey, come on, man. If we can make a joke and somehow communicate our message and make it a little bit funny and take some of the pressure off of you and not have you people screaming at you all the time, then we're going to do that. This is the Jack Blood Show. I am Jack Blood, No Agenda Global Radio, and affiliates. We'll be right back with Vinny Eastwood right after this on Talk Show Week right here on the Jack Blood Show. Rub the sleep out of your eyes. Shake off the chemical servitude. You're listening to the Jack Blood Show. Hour 2 coming your way. We are locked and loaded for Info Peace. Try that one on. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's illegal. I'm Jack Blood, as always, your narrator, your radio gun, reporting for the next hour. Scott Horton Show coming up in an hour. It's great. I publish and edit and write for DeadlineLive.info, among others. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Jack Blood Forum, if you really want to delve deeply into the issues. JackBloodForum.com. Go over there and rock that boat. They'll love it if you do. And Vinny Eastwood is with us. Vinny Eastwood is the evening drive guy for American Freedom Radio. They're also on Roku, by the way. Have been for a long time. I think they got like 30,000 subscribers over there. He is planted in New Zealand, but he talks about American issues, and he's funny as hell. And that's what I like about Vinny. Always love it when he has me on his show. It's always a great time, so I'm returning the favor here this Open Mind Friday. And he joins us now. Vinny, it's so great to have you, buddy. How are you?
Ooh, Jack, I'm so glad to be here, man. It's like 3 a.m., dude.
It's 3 a.m., so it's almost like you're on coast to coast or something. Well, people do that to me all the time, so I got to do it to you. Okay, but we got to get rid of this time thing. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is, and that's what pre-recording is really all about. But at the end of the day, when I started on American Freedom Radio on the Global Freedom Report, I think I was doing regularly 3 a.m. till 5 a.m. 5 days a week, and I did that for a good 6 months, so this is nothing.
How hard you work for the people and for truth and for some comedy people will never know, Vinny. You've been on the air, about 3, 4, 5 years now. It's been a while. Time really flies.
It really does, and especially when you're, as Lindsay Williams referred to me, a young whippersnapper. You kind of sitting here. I'm in New Zealand now. Can you tell me any other New Zealander, Jack, that has an American talk radio show?
No. You're the winner.
Right, and let's put it in the qualifier time frame here. Ever. So I'm kind of carving new ground simply by breathing at this very moment.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to be alive. Even more exciting by the possibility that some black uniformed thug might bust through the door at any point and threaten to exterminate me for exposing scumbaggery.
Well, I mean, you guys are part of the Queen's England, and I don't think things are as bad as they are here. I mean, but then again, I'm here, so they seem worse. I don't know what the police state is like in New Zealand, but I know you talk about it on your show. Give people a sense of what things are like there if they don't already know. I guess you're technically in the Asian Union over there.
You know, we're starting up this new thing called the the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, or TPPA. I mean, you'll recognise it as a kind of a deformed hydra of NAFTA or GATT that Al Gore pimped back in the day when America still had jobs, manufacturing, sovereignty, borders, you know, a lot of those things that are now just a memory, and all the things that once made America great are gone. We can bring them back, but the fact is they're now gone because of those trade agreements. And so New Zealand is now signing into a trade agreement with not just one or two or three or four countries or something, but 9. And everybody else seems to be wanting to scramble and get on this as well. You know, if you have a country that's borderlining on the Pacific Ocean, you can be in on this one too. It's like, yes, well, thank you very much. Hasn't the global elite been talking about merging people into an Asia-Pacific Union, having a North American Union and an African Union? And of course, they've already got the European Union. So, and of course, the way that they put the European Union into place is they started to do the European Economic Prosperity Partnership.
That's right. Yeah, that was the European Union. They just didn't tell people, and now we have NAFTA, GATT, and CAFTA, and they're saying no, that's not a North American Union. But then as you just said, this trade partnership that happened in Europe, Vinny, was de facto the European Union, and they had their 50th anniversary here a couple of years ago. So you just do the math. You go, well, that's when the trade deal was made, and that's when the European Union started. But people, they don't want to tell you that right up front, because why? You'll freaking revolt.
Well, and that's absolutely true. And of course, when you go into these trade deals, just like back in the day, because these people don't come up with new scams. Have you noticed, Jack? They simply run the same scam and put a different face.
That's what's so frustrating about it, is they use the same plans, the same playbook all the time. And I'm telling people, here's the plan, here's the playbook. How do you know? I want some evidence. So what's going on with this? This is all new to me. No, it's not new. Nothing is new under the sun.
They admitted it over and over again. And so there's actually a methodology to it. What I found is very interesting is it's so predictable. For example, have you ever been to a council meeting or had some kind of big project like maybe Trans-Texas Corridor or massive voting projects, stuff like that? You know what happens is you go in there, you go to a public meeting, and a whole bunch of the public will be up in arms against it, blah, 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 and then the speaker will go, okay, well, that's cool. We've heard your views, that's great, and then we'll make this ruling based on such and such and such. And what they'll do is they'll just exclude all of the views that they don't like. And they'll only invite back to a second follow-up meeting all the people within the crowd who actually stood up and said, yeah, I think this is a good idea. Let's go ahead with it. Let's destroy America. That's called the Delphi technique, is it? And the same thing exactly happens here in New Zealand council meetings. I mean, like, for example, if you're a media person like I am, you're standing there with a tripod, and you're filming the public council meeting that happens every week, and you're not doing anything, you're not saying anything, you're just sitting there recording it, and then I get thrown out because I didn't have permission to film. You know, well, the fact of the matter is, I was filming,
I like that idea, but I think that's great. We should all have permission. We should
private contractors going on here. Now, the whole idea of private contracting is you get what people own already, and then you sell it back to them, and then you get them to pay for the privilege to sell the stuff that they own back to them over again.
Yeah, well, maybe we should. They should have permission to film us. Maybe that should be a rule. Though, again, they work for us, so I don't think we need to get permission when we're filming our employees, that being the government. At least that's how it works here in the United States. You know, we did. It's funny that you should mention all that city council stuff, because we did go and stop the Trans-Texas Corridor, the toll roads, the NAFTA highway in Austin, Texas. It took years, and we would show up with thousands of people to the council meetings, the city hall meetings, and they would simply put the gavel down. They would have gatekeepers there. It was the whole thing always reminded me of the 9/11 Commission. It was just so fixed like that. But But then they would just postpone the meeting. Okay, well, everyone in town is against this, so we'll come back next month. And they would keep doing that and keep coming back until, by attrition, your protesters, the people that were upset about this NAFTA highway, the toll roads, and all the rest of it, would finally, siphon off a little bit. Luckily, we kept going hard and we won. Not after, though, they didn't build a whole bunch of toll roads. They managed to do that. These toll roads, by the way, are ghost towns, man. Nobody drives on them in Texas, and it's just a giant boondoggle. But you make a good point. So either they're going to go with the one person who's for them, or they're going to reschedule the meetings until you all go away, get tired.
Yeah. It's very similar to the scene in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the Vogons claim that Earth has been put on notice that they're going to be building a highway through the system, and that Earth's scheduled for destruction. And it's been on display in the Galactic Hall for 150 years or something like that. Mate, we don't even have access to that. And that's how they do it, man. It's you ever seen that little game with the 3 cups and there's like a bead underneath one of the cups and they switch it around and around and around and around,
Yeah.
Like there's something like that happening here in New Zealand where the Agenda 21 implementation is quite interesting. You put in a highway, and they're doing that down in a sleepy little town called Taihape here in New Zealand, and they have come up with this great plan over about 30 years of consultation with the public to have the bicycle lanes that they want, the 3-4 lanes of traffic that they want, and replace the traffic lights where they want. And they only need to maybe take down maybe 5 or so houses. And then otherwise, it actually improves the entire area. It improves traffic flow, that kind of thing. That's what the public wanted. But it's not what the New World Order wants. The New World Order wants massive, massive highways coming through places, as many houses being taken out as possible, and making it look like absolute crap, and of course closing off a few.
It's eminent domain.
Roads, and of course closing off a few on-ramps and off-ramps at the same time as well, and turning a few smaller towns outside these main bypasses into ghost towns to get people off the land. And the way that they get the public into accepting these protocols is that they will say, okay, let's say, for example, the bypass that we're looking for is the Taihape bypass. Okay, that's how everybody knows it with the cycle track and everything. So let's put an option down under that name, but it's a way, way worse option. And then over here we'll have a name that's very similar, so the Taihape bypass bike path option, as opposed to the Taihape bypass option, which is even worse than the first one. And we'll put that next to it, as well as one more that's even worse than the first two, so that people wind up with 3 choices that are worse than what they want, and they don't get what they want. Okay? That's what the protocol is, and you see that exact methodology in every single bit of implemented policy everywhere in the world now. It's the same technique. That's why it's obviously a conspiracy. If it wasn't, there'd be some variance in how things happen. It's not.
Well, that's a good point. No, that's a good point. The fact that they're using the same plans all over the place means that obviously they're conferring with each other and sharing notes, which would denote a conspiracy, especially if it's criminal and it hurts people. But then again, there are no such things as conspiracies. I don't know how many people will be charged today by our government for conspiracy of something or another, but let's not go there. Let's just talk about what's really happening, because what you can do with a highway, I'm glad you brought all this up, because I haven't talked about this for a while, Vinny Eastwood with us, American Freedom Radio. Eminent domain, and they're the Capstone pipeline here, which is a big project for the Koch brothers. I'm going to be nice and pronounce it Koch.
Whoa. Is that called the Capstone pipeline, like a pyramid?
No, it's called the Keystone, but I call it the Capstone. Thank you for correcting me. I have my own little pet names for things. It's the Capstone Highway. This is the oil pipeline, the leaky oil pipeline that will be set over from Canada to the Koch refineries in Houston or whatever, in Texas, and then all the oil shipped to China at top dollar, because it's going to be good for jobs and for America. But eminent domain is a huge issue there, not to mention environmental issues, and the tree huggers have a few good points on this. But again, it's just the playbook. The same thing happening in Afghanistan. You know, if we really revolted against the Capstone pipeline here, they'd have to drone attack us. We would be labeled terrorists, and so this is kind of how it goes. But when you're talking about freeways, there's something really insidious that goes on here, Vinny, in my humble opinion. It's insider trading in a way. And what you do is, when you know where the new highway's going, you buy all that land up first. This is what we caught Rick Perry doing. In fact, they were going to put a highway right over Mount Carmel where the Waco Memorial is. And Perry was buying land all around there, and then we stopped them. But if you have prior knowledge to that, you know that you're going to get prime highway real estate where all the money goes. And the old highway where mom and pop little restaurants and stores and stuff are and gas stations, screw you. That's a ghost town now. We're doing it, and we're moving all the business here, and we're getting the people, the taxpayers and whatnot, to pay for it, and we're sending all the money to Spain, who bought all of our toll roads, by the way, in Texas when I was living there. So it is a sense of stealing from mom and dad. It's mom and pop. It's a sense of eminent domain. It's a sense of insider trading. But even more so, Hitler did the same thing. What did he do? As soon as he got to power, he started spending money on widening the freeways, widening the highway systems, the Autobahn. Why? So we can move tanks through there, which is exactly what we caught them doing. Not only in Texas did we catch them making an underground highway they didn't tell anyone about that we were paying for. Not only did we catch them using fiber optics into the freeway so it can, catch your readers and know where you are at all times, where your car is and who's in it, but also they were doing a parallel highway for tanks, for the military. None of that was in the papers. So there's all of that. Now here, and let me just finish by saying this, because this is a nice little rant for me. I'll take it. Thank you very much, Vinny, for dealing me this one. Here in Atlanta, where I live, in Little Five Points, they were putting up the Jimmy Carter Highway. He wanted a big highway going to his library, man. And they started digging up the whole area, and the people stopped them. And you know what we have here now is a park every 2 blocks because we stopped that freeway. They'd already dug up the land, and we have all these beautiful, amazing, free parks. And we've totally benefited from that. So there you go. Did we lose you, Vinny? I mean, that's just what happens when I start ranting. The whole system goes to shit, man. And Vinny didn't get to hear any of that. But that's what you can do when you stand up. What? What's this? Call mobile. Just call. There you go, Vinny. When you win things like this, when you stand up against this massive system, instead of getting these disgusting, gross highways with McDonald's every 20 feet, you get Freedom Parkway. They literally named it, hey, Vinny, I can see you now.
Yeah.
They literally named it Freedom Parkway. Jimmy Carter was making a highway. No longer it's a highway. It's a Freedom Park. It's Freedom Park and Candler Park, and there's a park every 20 feet because we defeated them on the highway here in East Atlanta. So there's what happens when few people get together and stick to it, Vinny.
Well, maybe they've got a 1-step, 2-step, 3-step program in place here, Jack, because what I've found is what happens is they'll try an agenda, and if it gets blocked, then they'll try it again. After all the people that had organised and worked real hard and everything had succeeded in beating them, they'll simply do it when they're all not paying attention. And a couple of years down the track, you'll look around and it's like, hold on a second, what happened to all those parks? How come it's a highway now? They move so quickly and so insidiously. And it occurs to me that we're entrapped in so many different directions. Like, have you ever seen one of those, a cartoon airship or something like that? And as it comes into dock, it's got all these ropes all around the airship that are tying it and docking it. And in order to get it to release, you have to cut all the ropes simultaneously, sort of thing. So you think about the banking system, the legal system, the police, the military, the politicians, the media, etc. All of these major control mechanisms. The churches and major institutions of control that are currently in the fold of the New World Order and being used in many systematic ways to coerce all of us into doing exactly what they want. The problem is if you get out of that system, like let's say you're a Gaddafi and you want to start trading in gold dinars for oil, boom, that one country that stands up gets taken out. Or in Iceland, for instance, I heard that they threw all the bankers out, literally threw them out, like walked into Parliament with a couple of hundred people and what have you, dragged these scum into the street and just said, look, get out of here, okay? And we're going to hold a lottery election. They put all the names of the buckets, so anybody who wanted to put their hand up to be part of the new government that was being forced, put your name in the bucket and we'll pull it out. And then, apparently, they got talked back into and forced back into paying off their debt again. So I was just thinking, hold on a second. Not only do you have to free your country simultaneously from all the little threads that are tying it down, but every country has to do it simultaneously. Otherwise, the remaining apparatus of the New World Order will strike back at you in retaliation, and your revolution will be for naught, and they'll just install puppets in all the old institutions and what remains of them again. So, in a way, we have to come up with a global counter-conspiracy, if you know what I mean, that is multifaceted, multi-generational, and multinational. And people have to stop thinking that 9/11 is the one issue for me, or that I'm only going to expose the court system. We need to be thinking more holistically and attacking from a more eclectic perspective, mostly in the forms of defense, because this is our world now. Okay, we don't need to go out and conquer territory. We are already here. And we know where we are. We know our surroundings better than the New World Order does. We've lived here our whole lives. The elite haven't, okay? They ain't got any ties to the land. They don't got any ties to any flags. These are our homes, and we're not going to let them take them from us. And the way that this works is similar to the way a cactus protects itself. It covers itself in spines from all directions, so that whenever it is attacked, you'll get a little prick to remind you. And I find this is very similar with individuals. There's always an individual activist or a media reporter or something of that nature for whom one particular conspiracy in their particular country, even in their particular town sometimes, is their main issue, and they know all about it. So if you get all people working in concert, but not having a command structure, so that they don't need orders to be passed down and bathed in a systemic methodology like the New World Order does, we can act very quickly and be impenetrable. Kind of like a phalanx. The idea of the phalanx, as anybody would know in Greek armies, is that you've got a large shield and it's capable of covering your body from the thigh to the neck. And your job is not to actually protect yourself with that shield. It's actually to protect the man to your left from thigh to neck. And so everybody's protecting the person next to him and nobody's able to get touched. Because any fatal blows that could be done to them can't be. You can't do it. That's the source of the strength. If we're capable of utilizing that ancient military tactic, revamping it, reworking it, and using the weapons of today, we could actually beat these people with a very, very small amount of activists and individuals working it.
That winning is possible, and that utopia can be here at some time. I, on the other hand, am hedging my bets, Vinny Eastwood. Vinny Eastwood with us today from AmericanFreedomRadio.com. I don't believe in utopia. I think
nor I.
If we overthrow this so-called elites and New World Order, the new elites will become, the people that overthrew them will become the new elites, and they'll probably be worse than even the people that they replaced. I think the only thing you can do, man, is to educate yourselves and your children to stand up for freedom, to stand up that freedom is the answer. It doesn't matter what the question is, and that you can only take care of, in some senses, the geographical area in which you live. I'd love it if the whole world got together and we are the world and we cut the strings at once so we don't have cement shoes or anchors taking us to the bottom of the ocean. And you make a lot of sense with your mixed metaphors and your NLP. But but there's no utopia. I'm not kidding myself. I'm not going to kid my audience. I'm not going to tell them that we're going to win. We're going to be the new world order. I'm not going to tell them that, because this is a generational fight. This is how we got here.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Can I say something?
against the British elites here in the United States. You guys you're still having that fight. We took our country back, and then we went to sleep, and then we started working on growing picket fences. And then we started working on growing our businesses and raising our families. And we took our eye off the ball. And the next thing we know, we're in a technotronic era police state. So we have to roll that back incrementally, and we have to stay on them generation by generation by generation by generation. We've got to this has to be a natural reflex to protect our freedoms, to guard our freedoms against future oppressions.
Well, the people are like an immune system response. And it doesn't mean that if you've got an immune system that you're immune to disease. It doesn't, right? And I was thinking about being a young guy, and when I interviewed G. Edward Griffin, he said, I'm getting to be a bit of an old guy now, and I asked him, do you see much progress? Do you feel much heartened by the things that you see? And he says, well, basically not as much as I'd like to see. Although, upon reflection, if you look back at just how far I've come and how big the movement is by comparison to even a couple of years ago at this point, it's growing so substantially, you feel like you haven't at least contributed and partly achieved something. But you're right, Jack, there ain't no utopia. If anybody thinks that there is one, if anybody thinks that humanity is even capable of achieving perfection, like within the next year or 2 years or decade, you've got to be freaking dreaming, mate. Okay, either that or you're believing in some form of New World Order mind control that hopes that you'll achieve some form of
videos and what. Hey, listen, but G.R. Griffin, he makes it so simple. And by the way, we're very honored to be on the honor roll section of Freedom Force International. People could check that out.
Me too.
Smart guy, and obviously wrote one of the definitive new updated books about the Federal Reserve, The Creature from Jekyll Island. But he makes it so simple in that, well, what do? You never tell me what to do. First of all, I shouldn't have to tell you what to do. Okay, tell me what to do. Let's all work on it. But you do what you got to do. I do what I got to do. I'm going to give you some advice if you want it. And what he says is decentralize and repeal. It's that simple. Stop the complete super centralization of everything, from your money to your religions to your governments to your businesses. One business shouldn't own all the entertainment or all the Coca-Cola or all the soft drinks or all the cigarettes or all the alcohol or all the food. And if you look at that and you realize how important it is just today to go out and decentralize something a little bit, work on that, pick something out and break it down, because that's always the answer. What happened in 9/11? The 9/11 Commission got together and decided that all intelligence need to be centralized under a top-up-down command and control pyramid structure. So you pull out those bricks of the pyramid. And then the other part of it is repeal. You got to repeal the laws, because all laws and regulations are selectively enforced depending on who you know, who you blow, and who your lawyer is and how much money you have. So it's not fair. It's not a level playing field. So decentralize and repeal, boom, you're all set. And then beyond that, it's the individual versus the collective. And you need to preserve your individuality, and it can't be a crime. It can't be terrorism to be an individual.
And I look at it like this, and it's the same issue all over the place. If you look at gay marriage, the Patriot Act, or anything. Here's the two questions.
We're not having that.
No. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. If
the gays want to get married, the gays should all just die, right? Oh no, that's no. I mean, but that's the trap that Gary Johnson falls into. Is well, I'm for gay marriage, really, because I'm not for the state telling me who I can marry at all. How's that?
Yeah. Well, I think the point is, if you haven't stabbed anybody, and if you haven't stolen any of their stuff, it's none of my fracking business. That's how an individual liberty system works, isn't it? Who cares? I don't
works
care.
That your dog not. They got a law they're going to go for in New Jersey, of course.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing.
Laws. Just listen for a second. If your dog isn't in a seatbelt, it's animal cruelty. You can be pulled over even if the cop thinks your dog is not in a seatbelt.
Yeah.
I just had to go there.
Well, and that's the thing. Laws, point to one that solved a problem.
But it's not that
or taxes.
No, but it's not that
Point
you
to a taxation scheme that solved a problem.
Your dog is in a seatbelt. It's your dog was running around in your car, got in front of your gas pedal, and you crashed in. You killed somebody. That's you're being irresponsible. Now you must pay. No, it's not the law. The law can solve something as it's going to force accountability. That's the only thing it could possibly ever be good for. Is it never prevents anything, does it?
Have you noticed that
it does punish
the
people?
Laws, it doesn't punish a certain group of people, though. That's what I've found. I think all the laws that we've got would be great if they were actually enforced equally upon everybody. If everybody was subject to the same law, it wouldn't be that bad. The problem is the people making the laws aren't subject to them. They got things like diplomatic immunity, etc.
No, one guy kills 1 million people and he gets medals. The other guy has one beer and is driving down the road and he's accused of killing people when he hasn't actually even done anything yet. No, but I understand that. But at the same time, we have to draw a line somewhere. Unless we want to punish everybody for pre-crimes, we have to punish people for actual crimes on a level playing field. And it has to be really, I mean, just when it's absolutely necessary. If that can't be worked out between the two parties, et cetera, on and on. But man, if you rape a kid out there, I need you to be accountable for that. Yeah. I don't care if you're a billionaire or if you're a bum. You need to be accountable for those things that you do. And I guess we could ask Bernie Madoff. Hey, man, this is the thing. If you're an elite, I want you to understand this right now. You're listening to this show. They could throw your ass over that boat at any time, and you could be Bernie Madoff. Okay, they could make an. You could.
They will too. It's not just a possibility.
You could be, I mean, look, it's not just a possibility. It's happening every day. You could be Gaddafi. You could be Assad. You could be Ahmadinejad. They could decide you're not in the club because these guys were all in the club at one time, and you're dead. You're dead. You're on the road with a stick up your butt. Okay? That's what's going to happen to you. So there is no safety and security personally ever. That's all an illusion. But if you're in the elite club and you think you got it made, you don't. It's all an illusion.
Yep, you have a look at any tyrannical regime that has seized power. Have a look at what the leader does to all the people that helped him seize power. He has them executed very quickly because he knows. Hitler knew it, Stalin knew it, all these brutal dictators know that if you're going to seize control by means of lying, that means that the people next to you who helped you get there are the only people who can easily seize power for themselves from you, just in the same kind of psychopathic, stealing, destructive fashion. So you get rid of them, and then you maintain your power and dominance. And it's the same thing will happen to all of you elite who think that you're part of the club. As Jack said, you're next. As soon as you think you're about to get what you want, you will have everything taken from you. Just like you think you're manipulating us, you're being manipulated too. And if you're listening through the NSA and you're listening to this broadcast and scanning us for flags and what have you, just remember, you're going on a list too, Mr. Analyst. You're going to be executed too because you helped all this apparatus come into fruition. You're going down one way or the other. Here's the choice. You can be on the side of freedom, of humanity, of truth and justice, or you could be on the side of your own demise and your own family's enslavement and rape and death forever.
Jesus, Vinny, I thought we were going to have a light hour here. We were going to tell a few jokes and entertain the people, and the next thing I know, we're coming up with the solutions to save the world and lecturing people. I'll tell you, I got to go to break, so let's do this. Say pepper, please, for me.
Pepper.
No. Peepa. That's how you say it. All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to The Jack Blood Show. It's Vinny Eastwood from American Freedom Radio. It's talk show host week. Yeah, I'm one, and I invite all my friends. They're talk show hosts, too. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The rest of my audience is going, man, do you have that problem, Vinny? Your audience is very protective of you. It's kind of like music, you know. I remember when grunge broke out of Seattle, and we were all like, man, I don't want to share our music with the world. That sucks, man. It's ours. Now the rest of the world's coming, and they're going to ruin everything. Yeah. My listeners don't like to share me. That's why they don't promote us, and they keep us small to themselves. You know.
Well, I don't know. sometimes too much of a good thing ain't a good thing at all, bro.
I could go on a number of riffs with that setup. Thank you very much. I could have hit 10 home runs. Just imagine. I didn't, though. Vinny Eastwood with us. Vinny Eastwood is from American Freedom Radio. Tell people what time you're on and what your website is so they can find out more about you if they don't already know.
Okay, well, many hours from now, from 5 till 7 Central Time, daily, Monday through Friday, on AmericanFreedomRadio.com and the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. There's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, allegedly, as Jack likes to say. I love that word, allegedly, and the way that you place it kind of everywhere, Jack, because
it's a drinking game.
Almost everything is alleged these days, is it not? And, well, basically, I'll get on people like all the way up from David Icke down to people that you've never heard of who have literally never done a radio show before and have barely even started a blog and things like that. So the biggest to the smallest, and we bring them on for 2 hours and just kind of making these connections all over the world with all these different people. And because normally you would take a lot of time prepping for a show, preparing questions, etc. like that, I don't need any of that, so I have cut out the middleman. So I don't know who I'm talking to, right? I'll talk to somebody like George Cavasilis or something like that who made some big prediction about 2012, comes on the show. Okay, George, tell us who you are and what you do. Because you find out that, hey, nobody knows these people better than they themselves do. And if everybody's telling their stories, and you listen to people and they all disagree with each other and that kind of thing, and you listen to both sides, somewhere in the middle is the truth. You ever notice, Jack, that most sides of both major arguments are always wrong? You know, like the Republican versus Democrat argument. This is how you know. This is how you know. This is how you know both sides are wrong. How long's the argument been going on for? Okay, if it's been going on for more than like a week, you know that they're both wrong. Because if one of them was unequivocally correct, the argument would end pretty frickin' quickly, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I mean, people are in denial, and the usual suspects in the media love the arguing. So, the reason both parties are wrong is because they're the same party. Hey, I want to do this with you if I could. AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Go check my man over there. And they got a lot of good shows, by the way, and I used to be on that network, and I love the people that run it. So I'm a little bit biased. Let's do this if we could, Vinny. Let's just let me just throw out a bunch of stuff and have you give me some quick under-the-gun answers. You want to try that?
Shoot.
Yeah, I know you can think on your feet. This came out today, does not surprise too many people. It's out of the Washington Guardian. They've done the homework, and they're really just responding to the ACLU. Federal surveillance rises sharply under Obama. So, I saw somebody with their bumper stickers the other day, and I was telling my audience earlier, it was a Obama-Biden 2012 bumper sticker, and then they were complaining about the loss of liberties under George Bush and another bumper sticker. But here it is, even the ACLU, who should be on Obama's side here, federal surveillance rises sharply under Obama. And here's the number real quick, and I'll get you to respond. 64% growth in electronic spying. I mean, that's almost double. It's getting near double. 64% growth in electronic spying since the president took office. It's not his fault, though. It's the Republicans.
Yep, and in New Zealand we had the search and surveillance bill that was put in by the previous Labour government, our equivalent of the Democrats, and now it's being enforced lock, stock and barrel by the new government, the Blue National Party, which is the equivalent of the Republicans, and they've just arrested Kim.com and the Prime Minister John Key, who's incidentally a Federal Reserve banker who was on the Federal Reserve Board of New York in charge of European bond and derivatives trading, has just now apologised to a Mr. Kim.com because he allowed the state intelligence agencies at basically New Zealand's prime snoop force, our equivalent to the NSA, to spy on him illegally. And now he's had to admit that he's doing it, and he's had to apologise to him publicly. Frickin' humiliating. Now, who's going to jail?
Well, I have a good idea who I'd like to put in jail. But okay, so here's the FOIA request from the ACLU. Government data shows that from 2009 to 2011, the combined number. I'm not just talking about, oh, well, there's more surveillance than ever before. There's twice as many cameras, and now they've got this Russian voice recognition system, and blah blah blah. I mean, that's all obvious. But these are actual numbers of court orders for so-called pen registers and trap and trace devices on phones. For instance, 23,000 requests to tap phones in America just in the United States. I mean, that's a crazy number. In 2009, this is the first year Obama gets into office. They go right in, 23,535 requests to trap and to trace devices on phones. Then in 2011, the number comes in. 37,616. That means that there were 37,616 alleged terrorists out there that they were trying to track and trace. I mean, what does that mean? That 37,000 people, well, maybe one of them smoked marijuana, or what is it that they're tracking and tracing? 37,000 people in the United States of America. You can do the math. It's only a small percent of the 300 million people. What do you say if you're an Obama supporter?
Leading up to World War II, Hitler instituted something that hadn't been implemented in Germany before, a thing called a census. And they gave a whole bunch of people the opportunity to tell the government who they are, where they live, what they do for a living, have they got guns in the house, where are their likely whereabouts at such and such, how many brothers and sisters do they have, who are their family, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody was like, well, this is nice, they're going to help to come up with programs to make our lives better. And sure enough, they did. And they took them all to camps where they could be safer.
No, I mean, they copied it from Hitler and from the East German Stasi, as we know from Marcus Wolf, who helped Homeland Security put some of this stuff together, or General Primakov from the KGB. Here's the most disturbing part about this article. Federal surveillance rises sharply under Obama. Every instance in all 37,000 plus cases in 2011, and we haven't gotten the numbers from 2012, we got to assume they're up, especially during an election year. Keeping in mind that some of these people were anarchists who were going to the Occupy, and they were in the way of the NATO. NATO was coming into Chicago, and there had to be some pre-arrest done. But here's the most disturbing thing. In every instance, not one of them was turned down by the federal judge. He authorized every single one of them.
I can explain why that is. Kim.com was told to be surveilled by the FBI. They had a 72-page indictment. Okay, 72 pages. This guy ripped off this, that, and the other, blah 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 blah, for going on 72 pages. He wasn't guilty of any of it, but no judge in their right mind would turn down a warrant on somebody who the authorities claim has got that much of a bad rap. So they overinflate it, they overdo it, and, sure enough, people were getting arrested all the time for absolutely nothing, and they're like, what's going on? Why am I being surveilled? Why is all this? It's because they made up a whole bunch of crap about you to demonize you because of all the good stuff that you're doing, man. They're trying to make you go nuts.
Well, I think you were about to hit on something else, too. The reason that the judges and the politicians and they all do this is they don't want to be the guy that gets blamed for being soft on crime or terrorism. They don't want to take any chances that maybe one of the people that they're asking to deliver the warrant for isn't, Al-Qaeda or whatever, and blows something up, and then it's the blood's on your hands and you lose your cushy job for life in the federal courts. So just to play it safe, everybody's guilty. Everybody's a criminal. Everybody's guilty. Just to be on the safe side, Vinny.
Well, see, if everybody's guilty, then nobody's safe.
I like how you turn that around. That was some jitsu right there. Okay, let's move on to another question. Okay, so now a judge, speaking of judges, has ordered the Innocence of Muslims filmmaker to jail. Nakula Basili Nakula, the filmmaker who we now know was working with the FBI after they caught him in some white-collar financial crimes and then also making PCP. There's that. Was an asset of the FBI.
Was he working for Microsoft when he was making those PCPs?
Right. Filmmaker behind the controversial movie The Innocence of Muslims that they say has sparked the days of rioting and rage. Actually, that's not true. They tried to use...
This was exactly what I wanted to say. Continue.
Here's the question. He was ordered detained Thursday by a federal judge for violating terms of his probation. So after he was out working for them, after he was out putting out this propaganda film, and he did everything he was told, now they're saying... Sorry, we got to put you back into jail, probably for your own safety, because there's a lot of people that want your head and your ass. Go ahead.
Okay. It's called being a patsy. But what was interesting about that incident there, the embassy that got burned out and the embassy workers who got killed, right? Jack, in your career, have you ever, and I want you to think about this, ever gone to a decent-sized protest that was organised well in advance, or at least a couple of days out or something like that, near any type of major political rally, whether that be an embassy or outside the Fed or anything like that, where not a single police officer shows up to make sure that the public is kept in line or a parade or anything like that? Have you ever seen that?
I can't say that I have, actually.
Okay. Because this was the first time that I have ever seen those embassies that those Egyptians were protesting against. Not a single cop turned up to protect the embassy. And guess who's in charge of Egypt? And guess who's got command over the police? The Muslim Brotherhood. Who started that? The CIA. So you have the FBI having a patsy to whip up Muslim sentiment, and then you have the CIA orchestrating their Muslim puppets to keep the withdrawals back, so that you've got a massive, massive crisis that they can provide some solutions for. But isn't that just gorgeous? And also, the only guy who can say, hey, I'm being set up as a patsy, I was not violating my terms of probation at all, they told me to write that film, is in jail, so nobody can talk to him.
Now, that is funny. Well, not if you're one of the people drugged to the street and anally raped, as the ambassador was. In Libya, which, by the way, wasn't an embassy, wasn't in Benghazi, was nothing more than a safe house in a neighboring town. They really mucked up that story. Kind of like the I killed bin Laden story, and here's us killing him. Here's a video of us killing him. Oh, that actually wasn't video of us killing him. And no, every part of the story we told you wasn't true, but believe us on the rest of it. It's a media and you
stunt.
say the Muslim Brotherhood is run by the CIA. I think a lot of people would get very angry at that. What would you cite as a source for that information?
Who did I hear that off? I think it was on the Intel Hub and beforeitsnews.com. You can have a look into these things. I don't know 100% sure. So if somebody's got some contrary evidence that they'd like to bring into the fold, I'm very, very interested to hear it. But it fits with the methodology regardless, even if there wasn't any evidence for it. Anytime you see any group seize control of a country, there's usually an intelligence operation hand on it. Okay, even in the New Zealand Parliament, even the Queen has specifically ordered that New Zealand state intelligence services surveil every single parliamentarian and every single thing that they do and report back. Okay, so it doesn't matter who you are, what country you're in, you are controlled by the intelligence services. And what most people don't realise about intelligence services is that not only do they share information, but most of them are actually privately owned. I think it was something along the lines I saw in a documentary, it might have been by Michael Rupert of FromTheWilderness.com, that something like 75% of the CIA and NSA are actually privately owned. All right, it's like subcontracting. And so it's no surprise to me that political groups would have the exact same things going on as well in different regions of the world that are still controlled by the same New World Order puppet masters. It's simple methodology.
Getting back to my question, the guy was arrested because he was detained, again, federal judge, because he violated his probation. The judge cited a lengthy pattern of deception, including making false statements. Right?
So this guy served. He served the people he was working for. He did what he was told, and now they're locking him up. And I got to tell you, a lot of people are going to look at this and go, instantly jump to the conclusion that he was arrested because he made a film that incited people to violence. And they are on board, baby, that filmmakers need to be censored on a regular basis, that all art has to pass through the Ministry of Information in the government. So to make sure that somebody doesn't get really mad at your art and decide to go out and be violent, because it's not their fault that they're violent. It's your fault because you've incited them into it. And that's really what the NDAA and the Patriot Act and a lot of this is all about, man. It's not that I did anything. It's that I incited somebody to do something. I'm on the air and people listen to me and they go out and they become violent. It has happened. Our listeners, bad listeners, sometimes they get a little crazy, not because of what we said, but because they're crazy and they get violent, and it's my fault. And therefore, we need to now kill the messengers. And I think that's really what this is adding all up to, with international pressure to stop people from saying bad things about religion.
Yeah, stop people saying bad things about religion. What's next? Stop people saying bad things about Coca-Cola. Stop people saying bad things about Monsanto. Stop people saying bad things about Dick Cheney or Halliburton or Obama or anything like that. There is no end to this. And what they're doing is they're trying to force a little wedge under your door so they can crack it with a hammer and have that whole door split open. And it's interesting, as we were relaying this back to these many different agendas that are actually tied to this one singular event, this one little movie. And I've found that that's exactly how the New World Order works every time. They never go after one objective with one event, especially staged events. They'll be going after multiple objectives simultaneously that have been set up well in advance in the process. Otherwise, people would be capable of throwing a spanner in the works.
Vinny Eastwood, American Freedom Radio. He's in New Zealand. Smart, up and coming. No, he's arrived. Talk show host, and it's been great having you on. I got to pass the ball to Scott Horton, the great Scott Horton show coming up. Say hi to Scott Horton. Scott, what's on your show today?
Looks like just me and the bad news. I've had nothing but bad luck arranging guests this morning, and I didn't try.
Do you want me to
stay
on for you, bro?
You can have Vinny. I'll pass you to him.
Oh, no, don't worry about me. I got way more than 2 hours worth to complain about here.
No, Scott, actually, Scott's fans would probably rather hear him alone, ranting and raving for 2 hours and giving people killer information. Hey, Scott, I started off my show today talking about how Saturday Night Live is pimping the Iran has nukes meme. So I guess they've joined the fray here. There is no safe place. Everybody's in on it. Everybody wants to kill Iran immediately.
Oh, that's too bad. I thought you were going to say Saturday Night Live is going to do a great skit making fun of the ridiculous clown Benjamin Netanyahu for his UN speech, but I guess that'd be asking too much.
Not at all.
Yeah,
Ahmadinejad is a racist, a homophobe, and they got nukes. So we need to do something immediately. Hey, Vinny, I got to go. Thank you for joining me.
Well, then we better start a war with him, huh?
It's Saturday Night Live, man. All right, have a great show.
Can I say one last thing before I go? Bob Chapman, the late Bob Chapman, told me something. Corruption's a perennial problem. You'll never get rid of it forever. So you got to remain eternally vigilant. So, Jack, thanks very much for letting me come on the show, mate.
Have a good show today. And Scotty Horton, you have a great show. People, stay tuned to No Agenda Global Radio. Listen to the Scott Horton Show. I'll see you Monday. We've got huge guests all next week. Welcome, Roku. We're out. Stay bold, America. Mighty forces will come to your aid. You've been listening to the Jack Blood Show, sponsored by you, our great listeners and supporters. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same channel, for the Jack Blood Show. And check out our information always as we publish it 24 hours a day at deadlinelive.info. And stay bold. Mighty forces will come to your aid.